From the perspective of employers, several areas require particular attention. First, modern labor legislation. We know that Barbados' labor and employment legislation has evolved over many decades, and often through separate pieces of labor legislation addressing specific issues. As a result, employers and employees too have to navigate overlapping pieces of legislation that their provisions can be complex, and the procedures resulting can also be complex, and therefore we have inconsistent requirements. We believe that the current body of legislation, much of it was designed for a different economic era, requires comprehensive modernization. And this is not our first or second call. Some of you might remember that last May, we even had a panel discussion talking about the need for a new labor code. So we therefore continue to call for the development of an integrated labor code that consolidates existing legislation, eliminates the redundancies and inconsistencies, and simplifies compliance requirements, and that reflects the realities of a modern 21st century workplace, including digital transformation, evolving work arrangements. We all don't work how they worked in the 1970s, skills mobility, and emerging business models. The second thing that we're hopeful for to see in the budget would be around minimum wage governance. So we know that the minimum wage board created under legislation exists to ensure that wage adjustments are informed by evidence, consultation, and economic realities. The board was created by legislation to consider all of these factors and make recommendations. Employers therefore support a predictable framework anchored in reliable economic data and recommendations from the minimum wage board. Minimum wage policy is very important as it must balance social objectives with economic realities so that unintended consequences don't happen. This is particularly important when we consider the makeup of the Barbadian economy. The majority of our businesses are small and micro enterprises, estimated at about 60% of the economy. We are not an economy built on big business. The reality of our economy must be factored into the conversation. It is also worth noting that the minimum wage legislation itself is built on a principle that we as Barbadians pride ourselves on, and that is consultation and social dialogue. Therefore, employers look forward to continuing reliance on that process, dialogue, consultation, which was established by legislation as we look towards minimum wage and future changes in the minimum wage. I'll also take the opportunity to highlight the Employment Rights Tribunal. So we know that the tribunal plays a critical role in resolving workplace disputes. However, we also know that operational challenges have impacted its ability to deliver timely outcomes. We've heard recently that there are plans to give it a permanent home and to give additional resources to the tribunal. So we understand that efforts have been made to address resourcing constraints. Disputes must be resolved efficiently and fairly for both employers and employees. When cases take many years to conclude, confidence in that system is affected. Retirement and pensions. We know that we have an aging population, and therefore we must consider policies that support both retirement security and labor market balance. We've previously proposed through the social partnership, through social dialogue, that we need to start considering a way of allowing persons to gradually transition out of the workforce, rather than abruptly moving from full employment to full retirement. Currently, the arrangements that exist effectively penalize persons who cannot maintain full employment after they've reached 60 years. These persons cannot legitimately work to supplement NIS pension, which may be necessary for financial security. We believe that a revised framework could allow pensioners to undertake part-time work or short-time work without complete loss of benefits while maintaining appropriate safeguards. So we don't want a system that can be easily abused, but we do believe it's time for consultation and dialogue to look at a new framework that allows for persons to gradually transition. We have an aging population, and therefore our policies around retirement and pension must allow for more flexibility, and we also need to look at how we can incentivize proper planning for retirement.